Welcome to Team Ascot's July 2019 retrospective. So we are Team Ascot. We aim to provide accurate IT asset and configuration management data. We also aim to provision the right IT assets to our customers in a timely manner, and we also aim to provide an outstanding service management system. So our team principles there on the screen, where we will treat each other with courtesy and respect, we'll be open and accountable to our customers, and we will endeavour to understand our wide-ranging customer base and strive to be as flexible as possible to their individual needs and their business requirements. And in return for these commitments, we hope to inspire the same values from our colleagues and customers. So this is a quick overview of what we've completed in July 2019. So this is the pilot of our new team dashboard, which aims to show what we've actually delivered in the different functions that perform within the team. So really there's 4 different functions that the team perform. That is of asset data management through the Hardcat tool. Then there is asset provisioning, which is fulfilling all of those different requests for IT assets and software requests. We then have the configuration management guys, who deal with the day-to-day maintenance of making sure the data in our configuration management system is up to date. And they've also got the ambitious project of redesigning the configuration management system to map to our technical services. So they're going through a big body of work at the moment, working with the technical support teams to map all of that information into our configuration management system. And then finally, we have the support of the service management tool within the team. So that's dealing with all of the different facets of configuration and management of the service management system to help not only all of those IT service management processes that depend on it, but also a growing number of business services that also now use the Marvel system to process their work. So this is the first attempt at a dashboard to kind of pull all of that information together so we can see what we've actually delivered month on month from a business as usual perspective. So first of all, looking at the number of new assets or number of new assets that have been added to the Hardcat database. We're starting all of this data from the start of the financial year, so from April, May, June. We can see that this month a further 616 IT assets have been added to the database. And say just some highlights. So that includes 399 AeroHive, the new access points for the Wi-Fi solution, and 119 Dell 2217 monitors, which we've had to procure to help support the laptop refresh. Moving on, say part of the work that the asset provisioning team do is the provision of mobile devices. So that's smartphones, laptops, tablets, etc. And we can see in the month of July we provisioned a further 47 requests for mobile devices. 18 of these were actually for as part of the laptop refresh. So that's a good sign to show the capability within the team that we can kind of continue to deliver BAU requests as well as meeting those demands of the laptop refresh and Windows 10 project. So that's great work there. Also, one of the things that the asset provisioning guys do is deal with all of those requests for so-called IT hardware peripherals. So things like keyboards, mice, could be hard drives. And again, this is a rundown of how many of those we do per month. So again, we can see month on month how many of the team are actually processing and getting completed and sent out to the customers. So in July, the team provisioned 149 requests for peripheral hardware items. This included 36 requests for DSE related mice and 35 requests for DSE keyboards. So it just kind of emphasizes, those bits of kit that are vitally important because of the DSE requirements of the customer and how well the team are doing actually turning those around. Moving on to the configuration management function side of the team. Again, this is just a quick summary to show just the sheer volume of data that goes into the configuration management database on a monthly basis. So we have a number of discovery interfaces in place that pick up data as it's discovered across our network, and that gets automatically fed into the configuration management system. We then have a process in place where we actually manually check that those items before they go into the configuration management system to make sure they're classified correctly, and that holds all of the key information. So for July, again, we can see a total of 803 config items were added to our configuration management system. This is included 59 new config items that related to our Nutanix infrastructure. So it's just kind of a snapshot of the type of data that we've got going in there. Moving on to that piece of work that the guys are doing with regards to mapping all of the underpinning config items that support each of our technical services. This is an ongoing piece of work that's going to be, it's going to be taking place for quite a while, because there is, quite, I think there's about 120 technical services. So the team are tasked with looking at each of those technical services, working with the various support teams that support those services, but then actually mapping all of the underpinning config items for that technical services and the interrelationships between those config items. So that's a huge piece of work that the team are working on. So you can see this month they've mapped a further 6 technical services, and this includes many of our security technical services. So it's just an example there of the reverse proxy technical service. We can see all of the config items that make that technical service up and how they actually interact with each other. So as part of that project, this information is then fed into the service management system, so that our change managers within the sales, when they're looking to approve changes being made against config items, they can see the interdependencies between those config items, so it helps with impact analysis. And just as kind of an add-on to that, really, this graph here just shows almost like how well that whole config management process is doing. So this looks to show the percentage of changes that we actually log in our service management system, how many of those do actually have config items attached to them. And again, you can see the trend, going starting from April, you can see that the actual percentage or the number of changes with config items attached is growing. So in the last, in July, over 75% of changes logged in our service management system had a config item attached to them. This is actually up by 11% from the previous month, so that's good progress. We're hoping that's as a result of the work that the guys are doing and making that config information more usable. Moving on to the work that's done by the service management support team. So this is a quick summary of all of the instance and RFSs that the team supports. So that team now is solely Julian, really. So this is just an idea of the volume of records that they deal with, and obviously their customer base is now growing because we use the tool in different areas. So it's not just IT service management processes, it's the lawyers, it's the senior casework executives, it's the suggestions guys, it's facilities guys. So you can see the number of records, instance and RFSs that they're solving month on month here. So in the month of July, 154 instance and RFS records were solved, and just 2 of those breached their SLA targets. That shows a really good level of service, and the fact that 54% of those records were actually raised by lawyers or senior casework executives, it just shows the great job that's being done there for kind of utilizing Marvel platform and its underpinning support model to provide value to the business. The SLAs around those are very tight, because obviously if the lawyers can't use the Marvel system, or if they want to make enhancements to the Marvel system, there's a real demand to do that quickly, because that directly impacts on casework. And finally, looking at the number of changes the Marvel administration team made month on month. So as well as that BAU dealing with instance and requests for services, there's a number of change activities that are completed. So in the month of July, 21 changes were implemented to the service management system. 7 of these were for new My Service self-service forms. There were 3 new workflows and processes embedded in the tool, and 8 new classification rules added in. So again, it's just a snapshot of the type of work that the Marvel administration side of the team do. That's it. That's July's summary retrospective. We look forward to putting the August one together, and we hope you find that interesting. Thank you for listening.